Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the MLB Live Before Lock show presented by Stokastic. And I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist over on X per usual on this lovely Thursday morning. It's been the first two Thursday mornings of this MLB season. I've got to spend it with my good friend Chris Spags at Chris Spags over on X. He is the host of the Splash Play podcast and YouTube channel. Go give him a follow while you're kicking it, getting ready for this 5-game MLB slate. Because I don't know if you know this, Spags, we're going to have a lot of time to fill on this show.
We are, and it's a slate too where, I think basketball, we're kind of the same thing this time of year. Sometimes you get slates where you're like, this doesn't look like the most appealing slate. The good news, though, is we do get cores on this slate, which we did not have for yesterday's main slate. I was doing the show with Greg. That was unfortunately saved for the later slates, but today we get access to that. Pitching, not so fun. Stacks, few that are pretty not fun, but we're going to get through it like we always do, Eric. That's what we're here for. That's what friends are for, right?
That's what friends are for. Yeah, that's not what Bailey Ober's for. Bailey Ober is for hitting the over on every single outing from now until the end of time because, man, I've never been a fan of his, and it feels like it's coming to fruition a little too early. Just remember, these are bad hitting environments for the most part across the entire country. Bad hitting environments. These are supposed to be good opportunities for pitchers to succeed. And we put him in 38-degree Minnesota, 42-degree Minnesota. Now we go to Kansas City with a decent pitching environment as well. And he's not having success now. And the wind's blowing straight across the field to the right field pole. I'm a little bit nervous here from my Minnesota Twins in the starting pitching. But as you said, we've got Coors Field. We've got a warm hitting environment there, 80 degrees and humid out there in Florida. And then a little bit of a smaller ballpark. Even looking at lefty power from last season, going out to Progressive Field in Cleveland, I think there's some really interesting ways to get different on today's slate. Oh, I didn't even mention Fenway, the best hitter's park of all of them traditionally, except for we don't really know about Steinbrenner Field. But I mean, this is a fun offensive slate, but how do we even find two pitchers that we want to click on outside of like one guy, Gavin Williams? You face the White Sox. That's always good.
Yeah, I think it's definitely ownership again that's pretty concentrated for Gavin Williams. I'm not getting to quite the number yet, not to spoil it, but my top of 50 before the show only got 39% of Gavin Williams, but the field projected to be playing 50% Gavin Williams today, which again, you get kind of like we talked about yesterday with Tyler McGill, where it was a matchup where he's facing a team giving up a high strikeout rate, 27.5% arrogant strikeout rate for this White Sox lineup today. But for Gavin Williams, the stuff is also not fantastic. I mean, 9 Ks per 9 is not bad, but overall underlying numbers, maybe not the most impressive. And he's going to be the pitcher that we die on the hill of today, it looks like, for at least some amount of ownership.
You guys are following us over on Playback. We've got ourselves the OddsShopper Portfolio EV tool. I'm sharing that on screen, so go kick it over in Playback if you'd like to. We'll put on some MLB games throughout the afternoon. I'm sure we're all watching the Masters, too. Chris Spags, did you get your Masters lineups in? Because nice little start from my boy Aaron Rye.
I did get in 10 lineups. I couldn't refuse the $10 Millie Maker thing. So I'm not a golf guy, and you didn't get to be live for a lock this week, so I couldn't tail all your takes that I would normally try to do. But for me, I was like, got to try a little bit here. It's the Masters. And the deals that DK had were actually pretty good. So we'll see how it does. I actually did some stupid shit in the Sims where I gave myself a lot of uniques per line, but try to spread out a little bit more. So I have some sort of breadth of guys. If somebody wins that's unexpected, I can get there. So I really have no leans besides the fact that I faded Scotty Scheffler, which already looks not the best move.
Oh, boy. Yeah. 2 birdies in the first 4. I mean, it's okay. There's so much golf left. There's so much golf left. I mean, for me, it was just simply taking some educated stances on guys. And yes, I'm sorry that I couldn't be on the PGA Live Before Lock show. Was really looking forward to that. Like, if you wanted to know, like, Eric wasn't playing hooky. I can tell you that much. Definitely looking forward to doing the PGA Live Before Lock. But I think Greg Ehrenberg filled in phenomenally well. Him and Ben Raza doing a great job breaking everything down. Ben Raza going right back to the Rory McIlroy well, as did I. So we shall see how this pans out. I kind of split around 40-40 with him and Scheffler, and then just filtered around each of them because it felt like a good way to do it. But we're going to talk about this 5-game MLB slate as you all hit that like button. That would be very nice of you. That would be very, very nice of you. But we're going to start breaking this one down at the pitcher position. And you kind of alluded to it. It is brutality. But I want to talk about Gavin Williams first and foremost because he's pulling 50% ownership. And in the Sims, my top 150 didn't adjust anything, didn't change anything. I'm getting Gavin Williams right at that 50% number. 48.67%. I think that makes tons of sense. Winds blowing in here, even though, again, lefty power plays up at Progressive Field. But who are the lefties we're worried about in this lineup? Matt Tice is batting cleanup. Nick Maton is up at the top of this lineup. They've got Brooks Baldwin for my Team America people out there. You can definitely maybe see him hook one, but for the most part, no Andrew Benintendi, sub-3 implied run total at Vegas. How do you plan to utilize Gavin Williams in a spot that's obviously pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think if you're getting anywhere around that 50%, to me, getting 40%, I'm okay with that as well. If you were to get 60, kind of feels the same way to me, where if you get a little bit less, it allows you to kind of swap around a little bit more, get some other pitching looks in there. I would say, I feel like there's a spot where with Gavin Williams' skill, I mean, he's not a big home run giver-upper, giving up less than a 2.7% rate to lefties, 1.8% to righties. So he's not somebody who's giving up a lot of dangerous power. Hard hit rate's about 41%, but the barreled ball rate's at 6%, which is towards the better part of the slate. I think maybe when you see this much ownership, shave 10% off, consider some White Sox stacks. I mean, we didn't see it really hit yesterday for Miami versus McGill, but the team did win. They did put up 5 runs. Maybe a mini stack would have worked out. The total's so low for the White Sox, 2.8 implied runs. Like, I don't know that you actually want to be there. But Gavin Williams just the pitcher to me where, like, I get why he's, the highest projected player of the slate, or one of the highest projected players in the slate, highest projected owned player on the slate, but he still just doesn't have wowing talent in any way. So I don't know. Like, I'll play him as much as I get him. For me right now, it's 40%. I'll probably take some White Sox stacks at low ownership and just hope it hits. But this White Sox lineup is like really bad. Nobody with a 170 ISO or higher above, a right-handed pitching, overall an aggregate K rate of 27.5%. It makes sense why Gavin Williams should have an easy run out theoretically, even if, he doesn't get the win like McGill did yesterday.
Yep, same way that I feel about him. I mean, the spot, the run out, everything's really, really good. And I don't think there's actually a lot to talk about. I think we understand the lineup construction of MLB, where if you have a chalky stack, chalky pitcher, like, yeah, there's still some ways that you can get different with your other 3 pieces with, your SP2. But like Gavin Williams just feels like a guy who, he's very vanilla on this slate. Like, I don't want to play 100% of him. He doesn't have the strikeout rate that really has me, salivating here. But if he goes 6, gives up an earned run, 2 earned runs, I mean, you're probably just fine unless you run into an outlier performance. And I do think, in terms of upside, his upside is literally just pitching deep into this game, finding extra strikeouts because it's the White Sox. But for the most part, he's not projecting in some ridiculous way. 17.32? That is our highest projection that we have on any pitcher on today's slate. But now's where it gets interesting, because I think there's a lot of ways for us to discuss how to go about this slate. And Jose Soriano is actually where I want to start, because he's probably got the most tantalizing stuff out of any pitcher on the entire slate, including Gavin Williams, including Bailey Ober, who's had decent strikeout rates, Walker Buehler, his time with the Dodgers, obviously the last year and a half not been as kind to him since returning from injury. But Jose Soriano is somebody who's not really popping up in the Sims. And part of that is the game environment. You're in a stadium that's, AAA ballpark that's been playing up for power. And then you're getting a Tampa Bay lineup that definitely has power. I'd say Aranda is probably one of the more underrated barrel rate guys so far to start off the season, even though the bat speed really isn't up there. We've got guys, Brandon Lau, who's just been doing it year in, year out for years now, whenever healthy. Jose Soriano feels like the one guy that I'm nervous about, because 26% ownership is nearly the second highest we have on the slate. But the Sims really has us going towards Waka, Basset, some of these other pieces. So kind of strange to start on the bottom end, but he's the next most expensive. What is your game plan for Jose Soriano?
Right now, it's fading him. And in fact, you gave that preamble here where you're talking about his upside. And I do think there is upside here. A guy doesn't give up a lot of fly balls, so you're not worried about the dangerous power going against him. Only a 22% fly ball rate allowed to righties, 25% to lefties. And he does have a tantalizing K rate versus righties, 10.2 Ks per 9. Versus lefties, a little bit less good at 8. But still, the rates overall a little bit above league average, 23.9% for him across everybody. So he's not a bad play. I'm only getting him in 3% of lineups. Fields at 26%. So like a really big fade for me right now. And that was me not really touching the sim too much, kind of letting it just rock before the show. I could see the upside here. I think your Gavin Williams point is really sound, where like he's going to probably get there, very likely to get a win. He's the only pitcher on the slate where the implied total going against him is under 4 runs. So like he feels safe to me. But if you're going to go against him, probably taking guys that have more strikeout upside that can maybe pick up a win and have the strikeout upside to be that sort of way to do that. And I think for Soriano, he's not really one of those guys going to attack the plate, give up home runs. If he does find the strikeout upside and hangs in the game long enough, maybe he's your way to get around it. So I see the logic here. I didn't get it in my lineups, but I think there's a good point to be made with Soraniano.
I think my main thing is that I keep looking at the Vegas odds. Total earned runs is over 1.5 is like minus 130, is under 2.5 at most books is like in the minus 185 territory. Like, it's a pretty decent shot that he's going to be limiting run creation in this spot. And if he does, I think he's got the best pitch mix. He's still got a ceiling on him as a pitcher and gets a lot of ground balls. I mean, it's kind of an interesting pitcher to break down because there are definitely some warts once upon a time. 11.1% barrel rate so far this season. Last year, 44.3% hard hit. There are things that sneak in there. He's never had better than a 4.04 expected ERA at the big league level. But 2.69 expected ERA to start off this season. I don't know. He's the one guy with this knuckle curve specifically that can definitely be a strikeout pitch. I mean, I feel like I need to probably get to more than like 3% of him in 150, but right now with you, I'm with you. It's like just an uncomfortable fade, but that's because we're getting so much ownership coming in and concentrated towards Chris Bassett, which is a little surprising to me considering the game environment. Michael Waka, Bailey Ober. So I'm going to actually open up the floor to you here now. We've got a lot of pitchers between 20 and 28% ownership in the top pitchers tool. Is anyone really catching your eye that you're playing in a lot of lineups?
So Ober is the one that I feel I mentally wasn't ready to play a ton of today, but I am going to be playing a good amount more than the field. Well, not a ton more, but 31% for me. I guess closer to 32% compared to the field's 24. I think the stuff looks pretty good for him. The matchup, honestly, it's really not even as good as Soriano's. Under league average K rate for a KC lineup going against him, 21.6% K rate for the lineup today. Going against righties, Ober's stuff, though, I think is the best in the slate with a 14% swinging strike rate, 51.2% chase rate. Does get barreled a good amount, which I think is what you talked about earlier on, where Ober does give up some risk of power, 9% barreled ball rate. But weirdly, the hard hit rate's still not that high at 34.3%. So fly ball pitcher for sure is Ober. The good news is that KC Stadium should keep home runs intact or, in track a little bit more. The negative 15% park factor for that. So I like Ober here. I think he's the play for me at 7,700. Price tag's a little bit cheaper. Not that you need to save money given that there's no pitcher above, 9K on the slate. But I think Ober's pretty solid here. But, KC's lineup is pretty good. So I think like any pitcher here, there's some risk. Besides Gavin Williams is just facing an absolute dog shit team.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing. If you told me coming into this season, who has the highest upside on this slate, like just strikeout upside, you'd say Bailey Ober, I think every single time, wouldn't you? Like that would be the relative to anybody else that exists here today, like on this specific slate, not including Schwellenbach because he's in the evening window where we do not have that game on the main slate on DraftKings or FanDuel. We have Bailey Ober also with a 3.83 xFIP last season, a decent, you brought up the swinging strike rate, 3.56 Sierra. Like things are good, but I think the big issue I've always had with him was always the fly ball rate. And always if you just look at on FanGraphs, it's one of my favorite things to do with like a guy like Kyron Paris. I keep seeing his name in the chat. The big thing that's changed for Kyron Paris is he's hitting the ball in the air and you're WRC plus and everything gets better when you hit a baseball in the air because there are far more good things that can occur. Doubles in the gap, home runs that leave the ballpark. When you hit ground balls, you have to get by such a wave of things and so many things have to go right for you in order to get the ball in play that it's problematic. So giving such like fly ball contact year in, year out always freaks me out. Now, Justin Verlander made a career with a pretty high fly ball rate. Michael Waka on the other side, 20.3 degree launch so far this season. I'm not saying that it's the say all end all, but like, man, you give up hard hit and a 25.5 degree launch angle to start the season. There's such a downside as well. It's a bull siders for me for sure, Spags.
Yeah, and I think there are some, like I mentioned that the home run rate in Kauffman Stadium is a little bit lower than average or a good amount lower than average, negative 15%. They give up a ton more triples because of the way that the stadium is shaped as well, 68% more, 14% more doubles. The OBP is about 5% higher than average. Hits are 6% higher. So like, you're right that if they hit the fly balls to spots where, hit them to the gap, that's going to be a problem for Bailey Ober, but I don't think he'll suffer from the home run risk that he has. He is an above average home run rate guy, giving about 4% overall, 5% to righties. I don't think he gets slaughtered through home run balls here, but home run balls could be triples, could be doubles, could be the team getting, high ISO that way as well. So I agree there's risk, but relative to this slate, I don't know. I don't know what else you do besides play Bailey Ober a good amount.
Well, let's talk about risk, shall we? Because this was probably the most surprising part to me about using the Sims tool this morning because the way that I used to build MLB lineups, I have my favorite pitchers. I'll cap exposures on certain slates like this where it's like I don't want to get more than 50% of a pitcher. I used to do all this stuff that just was unnecessary and not necessarily going towards the best lineups. But there's one guy that I do want to point out that we are 5x the field on. My most over leverage relative to the field on this slate is Ryan Feltner. Now, is it a price tag thing, Spags? Is it a Milwaukee is the stack du jour kind of thing, Spags? I'm not sure, but I've tried to like reverse engineer Ryan Feltner, and I've been a Ryan Feltner guy, but not in Coors Field. I generally take these kind of shots when he's outside of this ballpark. Is Ryan Feltner somebody that you're going to be getting 15 or more % of in your lineups? Because it appears that I sure am.
Yeah, so same page as you here, getting him at 17%. It does feel like that's decent pitching leverage against a very chalky stack. And the thing that stood out to me with Feltner, what made me feel a little bit better about it, number one, he's not giving up high ISOs to either side of the plate. Right-handed batter's only a 134 ISO going against him, and obviously that's with him pitching at Coors a good amount. 142 ISO for lefties going against him. So we're not talking about a ton of dangerous extra base power, extra home run kind of situations going against him. Barreled ball rate for him also pretty low, 7%. Hard hit rate pretty low relative to this slate at 36%. He doesn't get great chase stuff, only a 40% chase rate, 10% swing strike rate. But I think if he can keep the hard contact to a minimum, I think he can get it going. It's kind of like what I talked about with Greg yesterday, though, where like there was a really high total for the Athletics game. Kind of felt like the matchup didn't really necessitate it. That's how I feel about Feltner here. I don't think he's so egregious of a pitcher that, especially if you're going to limit the hard stuff for the most part in Coors, I think he can be okay here. It doesn't feel like, besides the fact that it's in Coors, as high of a total situation for Milwaukee. So I'm okay with Feltner. I think fit 17% to me, 4x the field feels like a lot, but relative to the slate, again, like anybody, I can get 15, 20%. And I feel like as long as there's a case to be made for him, I'm okay with it. And I think there's a case to be made for Feltner.
Yeah, I mean, my major case is that if the top stack on today's slate, especially in single entry, is going to be Milwaukee, I don't think it's close. I prefer Colorado between the two just because ownership-wise, I think we will get to the flip and have a pretty decent shot of seeing Milwaukee steamed up, especially single entry. But like, if Ryan Feltner has a good outing, you're getting leverage against those stacks. You're getting a cheap piece that can get you to more expensive bats. Like, there's just so many positives that come from playing a 3-4% Feltner if it works out. And I think that that's kind of the main thing on a small slate like this, a 5-game slate. This is really, I mean, last Thursday, I feel like we had more games that we covered than this. But as you're looking for a reason to get to Ryan Feltner, because I was kind of doing that a little bit this morning, it just really comes down to what his success does on this specific slate. It neutralizes Milwaukee backs and Milwaukee 5-man stacks. If he ends up being a pitcher with 12, 13 fantasy points, he is at 6K relative to 8,500 for Littell, who his projection isn't drastically different. Walker Buehler, 7,500. You're saving 1,500 on a guy who's projected for less than a fantasy point more. I just think that his success breeds more opportunity for you on this specific slate for what else it does in your lineup, more so than it's saying, hey, I think Ryan Feltner's a great pitcher.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't fit the criteria we were talking about before when, the logic for Soraniano is that he's got good stuff. Maybe he can really spike the strikeout upside. Feltner's under 8 Ks per 9 versus both sides of the plate as well, like one of the lowest marks of the slate, 20% K rate overall, so under that league average, about 22.9%, 23%. For Feltner, I don't think he's like got great stuff, but I do think he has contact limiting stuff. And I would say in some respect, you're getting a lot more leverage than him, like Eric mentioned. But I think he's kind of, to me, Gavin Williams-y a little bit, where it's like, if it works out well, if he keeps the run total low, if he hangs in the game, maybe picks up a win somehow. And I think, frankly, Colorado can maybe get something going against Priester on the other side. I think it could work out for him. But, the top stacks tool, or top pitchers tool rather, doesn't seem to support it a ton. 12% chance of being top 2, 24% chance of being a top 2 value. But you're getting positive leverage, I guess, theoretically, but it's not the best odds on the slate, I will say, for Feltner.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best odds, but again, never tell me the odds. Michael Waka, actually always tell me the odds. That's a lie. It's called OddsShopper for a reason. Michael Waka, Chris Bassett. I don't even really know how I start talking about them. Like any other slate, this is not the kind of ownership you're seeing either of them pull. Michael Waka gets to go up against my Minnesota Twins. You look at some early season splits for them. They've at least had a pulse at times against right-handed pitching, 98 WRC plus, right around league average so far. Only a 20.2% K rate, which is a little surprising to me with some of the pieces in there. But Michael Waka, I mean, I haven't actually pulled up his stuff here on Fangraphs this morning, but once upon a time was a reverse splits guy, would give up power to righties over and over and over and over and over like Marshawn Lynch. But this is a Minnesota team that, despite, just off to a slow start, can definitely do some damage, I think, against righties going forward. Yeah, still showing up this season, 357 average against righties, 238 to lefties. He's been a little bit better in that category. You go back to last year, it was basically split right down the middle. Same thing to lefties and righties. 410 xFIP against lefties, 418 xFIP against righties, so slightly worse to the right side of the plate. But for me, it just simply is Kaufman, wind blowing in, or across, if you will. And then the Twins have been just terrible here of late with no Royce Lewis in the lineups. Is Michael Waka somebody that you're comfortable with 44% of today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't mind the number. I'm a little bit lower than you. I got 36% before the show. So Fields at 28%. Having to stand above feels okay. And I'm with you. Waka was a guy when I was regularly doing Stokastic MLB shows a couple of years back. He was somebody I'd want to attack all the time because the splits were so pronounced. So to see him now over a multi-year sample size kind of be at least middle of the pack versus both sides of the plate. And really, you can make the case slightly better against right-handed hitting than he is versus left-handed hitting. But a little bit of surprise for me to see at this point. But he looks good here. I think he's got okay stuff. The swinging strike rate, not the highest at 10.4%. Chase rate, not the highest at 42.4%. But pretty much middle of the pack amongst the pitching on the slate. So Ks per 9, pretty low as well. 8 Ks per 9 versus righties, 8.3 versus lefties. You're not getting a big cosign here. And he is facing a Minnesota lineup that on paper has a pretty high ISO, maybe padded a little bit by guys like Wallner in there up top. But 170 ISO going against him, 23.4% K rate. It's also not like an easy matchup for him, but I think he's good enough. I think he's viable here. And I also, frankly, can get a lot of Minnesota stacks. So I think Waka makes sense in a lot of ways, over the course of a portfolio of lineups.
Yeah, he definitely makes sense. I mean, 4.14 xFIP last season, nothing catastrophic. I mean, it's not good. Ryan Feltner had a 4.17 xFIP, so better. It's in that range, but the highest WAR of everybody on the slate last season. So he's definitely found ways of being effective, decent home run per 9, sub 9.5. So there's some ways that I can look at Michael Waka and just kind of stomach it on this slate. Cause I think if you're looking for safe, and this is somebody had asked me in my Discord who I'd play in cash games for pitcher, I think the clear-cut answer is Gavin Williams. Who would you be rolling out as SP2 today? Because I went back and forth with Soraniano, who isn't pulling any ownership here in tournaments at the moment, and Michael Waka. I think Waka's probably your guy, no?
Yeah, I think Waka, for me, Bassett's not too far off, though I don't love Bassett. I think Bassett, to me, especially against lefties, is theoretically going to face in the projected lineup. Actually, no, it's confirmed for Boston. Facing a good amount of lefties today, so that does spook me a little bit. But I think Bassett with the low fly ball rate, I think he's pretty close to Waka, but I have more Waka than Bassett, so I guess I probably would favor Waka in a cash game SP2.
Yeah, I think it's just 4 lefties, but they're all good. Duran, Devers, who gets a bad rap for his start to the season. He's been so much better in terms of hard hit. Had 2 smashed baseballs yesterday. Tristan Cassis, somebody that I expect to hit a lot of homers, and he's cheap. And Wilyer Abreu, basically all he is walking power. So we've got an interesting lineup here for Chris Bassett in an afternoon game in Fenway. We'll see how that ends up taking into account, but a wind blowing in from right field at the moment, that should help out to neutralize some of it. But yeah, I'm probably going to be staying away from props in that game. I tried to find anything I could in it. Impossible. Absolutely impossible, Spags, such as betting life. But this is not impossible to envision a scenario where I get to some disgusting pitchers, because pretty much everybody is getting some trace amounts of Walker Buehler, Jonathan Cannon. I'm curious if you got any whatsoever. And I think I'd rather punch myself in the face than play Quinn Priester. So there's that. I will take shots on literally anybody else on this slate. Last opportunity. Throw it out there for the people on DraftKings. Who are you getting to the most?
So Ober,
Sorry.
Yeah. Ober, Waka, Bassett are 3 that I'm getting above 30%. Okay. Gavin Williams getting 40%. Everybody else a little bit lower. Zach Littell, I guess we haven't really talked about too much. Got him at 23% and change. Fields at 22. Not that that is a big pro stand, but he's a guy as well that I don't think is terribly bad. I mean, I don't think it's terribly good either, but a 46% chase rate's pretty good for him. Facing a team that strikes out about 25% of the time versus righties, has 7 guys that strike out over average. I think Littell can maybe get there. But yeah, I wouldn't really begrudge anybody making the case for anyone on the slate. Quentin Priester, though, I am with you. I want to go against him a little bit more. And Walker Buehler, I also really want to go against. Walker Buehler's numbers have fallen off the cliff in a way that maybe it's due to get better theoretically, but a guy giving up a 221 ISO to righties, 227 ISO to lefties, high batting average, high home run rate, 5% to both sides of the plate, swinging strike rate and chase rate are down to the lowest rates on the slate. I think Toronto's a really interesting stack, but I think really I'm playing Buehler 10% in the top 150 I got. Even that feels like a little bit rich for me. I just think he looks like the worst pitcher to me overall.
Yeah, Toronto is definitely going to be a stack that I'm over the field on. We need the lineup. That would be one part of the equation, but I'm with you. I think 1 through 6, 1 through 7, depending on Will Wagner, where he is in that lineup, I think is very, very interesting. Ernie Clement, Alan Roden, just get out of here with these 2 trash individuals. I just can't believe I broke them down last night and how bad they are. But anyway, Milwaukee, they're going to look incredible. And Colorado on the other side, I think is even better because Quinn Priester is the guy. Son of a priester man.
A priester man as opposed to a preacher man?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's just it's too close, like priester and preacher. No.
But that's the point, is that it's not directly on the head.
Wait, also, can I quickly, guys, if you can't hit the like button here, I want to show some love for Eric. I know sometimes we like to have fun at Eric's expense, but he is a lovely human being. I'm glad to be doing a show with him today. And, I just want to show some love for my guy here publicly on stream because, it's something that he deserves for all the work he does here and showing up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when sometimes, frankly, I would not in some situations.
9:30 out here on the West Coast. Good times. Well, I appreciate that. Chris Baggs knows I appreciate him. I would appreciate you all if you headed to play back and checked out Portfolio EV 7-day free trial down at the link below. You guys want to take a look? It's in our book, Reading Rainbow. That's also just off the top of my brain here at the moment. 7-day free trial, Portfolio EV. Would love to see you guys over there, mainly because people keep winning with this damn thing. It is absurd. And now with NoVig and ProfitX added to the fray, not the band, just the fray, we have an opportunity to get you guys access in California, Texas, no matter where you live, Maine even, where it's DraftKings, but then you have other books, Flip, Rebet, other things that you can check out no matter where you live. You're going to have access to tools that can help you make a ton of more money with Portfolio EV. So check it out. Put the portfolio together. Check out all the videos that we have on the OddsShopper YouTube channel from Lofty, from Greg, from myself, everybody breaking down Portfolio EV, trying to help you make money the smart way with a market-based approach. Would love to see you guys there. And again, 7-day free trial down at the link below. Why wouldn't you do it? It's free 99. That's the best kind of 99. Check it out, y'all. All righty, we are back. Look at that. I remember how to transition and all these things. Okay.
Producing on the fly. You're doing Colorado's lineup came in as well. So
okay. We got Colorado's. Yeah, I uploaded that. I can't believe Zach Veen is batting second. Punched me in the face. Dude, this lineup is terrible for Colorado. Zach Veen, Nick Martini, Tyler Freeman, Mickey Moniak, Jacob Stallings. What did Colorado wake up and do? They chose violence. I would be betting Milwaukee if I weren't on this show right now.
I don't mind the middle of the order, like McMahon, Martini, Tolia, Moniak. I think they've got some upside
Kyle
here.
Farmer is batting third.
The top of the order is not good. The top 3 is a really bizarre choice against Priester, who was awful versus lefties. Odd lineup. I
am betting right now.
Honestly, even though Veen has not shown anything so far, decent launch angle, I guess. He is 3K batting in the 2-hole as a lefty versus a guy who's bad versus lefties in Coors. So even Zach Veen's got some merits.
I mean, what is this lineup that Colorado?
It's different than what was anticipated. At least 3 guys that were different from what I've got.
4 for me. So this got sent. All right. Well, we got that done. That was kind of important for me on this show because, wow. I did not see how bad it was when it rolled out. Who's even good in this lineup outside of Doyle and McMahon? Toglia has his moments, but That is 6 subpar hitters in Coors on a Thursday.
I mean, Tolia might be my home run pick for the day. He's got a 16% barreled ball rate, 50% hard hit rate. Should be hitting from the lefty side of the plate against Priester, giving up a 5% home run rate, 260 ISO. I think Tolia's got some merits, and he's not as cheap as Veen and Farmer are up top. But
yeah, Tolia's just, I mean, his big issue has been strikeouts forever. I mean, we got to figure out how to put ball on bat. So that probably helps to face son of a priest, man. I'm going to do it the whole time. 46.2% hard hit, 15% K rate thus far. Yeah, or that was last year it was, but definitely attackable for the young guy. He was supposed to be something. He was a top 20 pick back in 2019, and boy, does it not look like it. His sinker doesn't sink. That's a problem. That's actually a problem, Spags. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, you generally want the name of the pitch to do the thing it's supposed to do. If your curveball doesn't curve, it's probably not a good thing.
Rowers, they aren't rowing. Something is not showing. Isn't that like Willy Wonka?
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't want to get jet ski you and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, you fucking ass.
Hey, it's worked for us for years, I suppose.
It's true. It is like it's like the reverse chemistry that's so good it becomes chemistry.
Yeah, some people call it chemistry, other people call it loathing from the Gajeski side. So it depends how you view it, what lens you're looking through. From my side, I still get to enjoy myself, so that's fun. That sounded masturbatory. But anyway, finishing it out, let's talk FanDuel, shall we? Give the people a little bit of information on the FanDuel side. So I'm going to just head over to the data hub because that's going to be a little bit cleaner. I'm not playing over on FanDuel today. If you want me to build out some stacks, if anybody is playing over there, if you guys want me to go through the Sims tool, I'm happy to do that, of course. But we've got yet the same situation. Gavin Williams, 31% ownership at the moment. Chris Bassett sitting there, 16 and change. Even with how bad that Colorado lineup is, I still have no desire to go to Quinn Priester. So I just want to put that out there, 6,900. I'd rather 69 somebody else. We've got lots of people, Jose Soriano, Michael Waka, Chris Bassett. There are some interesting, like ownership looks at first glance very, very efficient until you remember that every case we're making on DK for Michael Waka to have him in like 40, 45% of our lineups, he's the cheapest one of this bunch outside of Gavin Williams. And maybe it's just because that's a much easier click than this, but how do you not like Michael Waka at sub 12% ownership relative to 32, 31% ownership for Gavin Williams, Spags?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's really flat in the top pitcher tool for FanDuel where nobody's above 13%. Your high guys, Gavin Williams, but then Bassett's at 12.6, Waka's at 12, Ober's at a rounded up 12, Soriano's at 11. Like these guys are all pretty playable, I think, on there. But Waka, I agree. I think Ober also looks good, though maybe a little more concern for me over a quality start there. But I think, yeah, everybody who's not Gavin Williams, you're getting a lot more leverage on there, it feels like, because it's a lot flatter chance of being a top one guy. And I think the ownership for Bassett, Waka, Ober, Soriano, Littell, even Feltner and Bueller seems pretty low.
Yeah. I mean, I think rightfully Bueller is where he is. Like, would you want to be over 2%? Maybe, but
I mean, 8% chance of being top one surprises me because of how bad he looks in those numbers, but it is 8.4% according to the top pitcher tool.
Interesting. That is interesting. So, I mean, top pitcher, remember one thing too is like optimal is one thing. You can still win a lot of tournaments with somebody who gets 3-4 worse fantasy points than a Walker Bueller. So like there's a calculated risk that you're taking by playing him there too. Like traditionally on FanDuel, yeah, give me the guy who puts up the most fantasy points, but there's a lot of times where Gavin Williams putting up 40 and then Walker Bueller putting up 44 isn't really going to matter. So there are many ways of which to, God, I hate that my brain always goes to the skin a cat analogy. I would never want to skin a cat. It's disturbing.
No, I agree. I mean, I think is it not how like violin strings are made or something? There's like something esoteric that's made with skinning a cat, but I agree. It's one of those, I've never heard of a skin cat in my life, and I hope to not hear of it very often.
Is there really? Is that a thing?
I think there's a reason you skin a cat. What is a skin cat? So it's what happens on a 5-game slate.
You can cheer a cat many times. You can skin it only once. That's the lamb, right?
Okay, so primarily used for anatomy studies. I thought there was something about there was like a thing used to use the fur for, the pelt for, but I guess, yeah, just to look at the cat. So you skin a cat just to go like, yeah, it's a cat, all right, it's a cat. And there goes cat organs. Pretty cool.
We got the Brewers lineup: Turang, Churio, Yelich, Contreras, Mitchell, Bowers, Ortiz, Dunn, Haas. Yeah, that's a better lineup That's a better lineup than Colorado's. Just throwing it out there.
You really don't like Colorado's lineup. Yeah, I saw
Colorado's
lineup.
But here's the thing: Colorado's lineup's at least cheap. They're all in Coors. Like, that's the other part that I think is the push and pull effect of this. Like, on DK, Brennan Doyle 5.1K, Ryan McMahon 4.4K, Toglia 4.1. Everybody else, like Veen is 3K, Kyle Farmer 3.3, Martini 3.5, Freeman 3.4, who's the late acquisition from Cleveland, Mickey Moniak 3.2, Stallings 3.6. Like, they are way cheaper than the top of that Milwaukee lineup. So they might really show out in the Sims simply because you can play them ad nauseum with Gavin Williams. There's not really an expensive pitcher, though, is my issue.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those slates where you could end up leaving some money on the table, not feeling bad about it. I know, I think it was Jake in the chat was pointing out, like, oh, if you pay down for Ryan Feltner, what are you really getting? Because you're not going to get to Milwaukee bats, but you can get to some better versions of, 5K players in stacks. So I think there's utility there. I agree. If you have two cheap stacks today, I don't know what you're really getting on it. I mean, it's going to be easy enough to afford Gavin Williams and whatever other combo you want. So yeah, but maybe it makes it unique. I don't know. I think Colorado's interesting.
Waka. Just got to go get him.
He's no Fozzie Bear.
Oh, it's going to be in my head all day. It's so awful. Anyway, we're back to the DraftKings side of things. Anything else at pitcher that you want to discuss whatsoever, Spags?
No, like, I think it's really, I would like to get some slates with good pitchers on. Like, doing the stream 2 days in a row and it's just like dog shit pitching. It's like, all right, well, we're making cases for guys as best we can. I think really it's one of those days. If you have a lean, I see some guys in the YouTube chat. My guy Chunk has a lot of brain that's been dedicated towards the baseball season so far. You want to take a shot at somebody that we're saying is not great today. I think this is probably a slate you could do it more than others because it is pretty flat. But I think it's a pretty clearly defined tier of guys that we've talked about here with your Gavin Williamses, your Bassets, your Waka, your Ober, and maybe Soraniano that I think Eric very astutely pointed out earlier on. He's going to be owned more than I have him, but he's probably got the most juice here that nobody's really going to get to as much, or people aren't going to get to as much.
Yeah, I think it's really the game environment that freaks people out, and it should. I mean, this in Sacramento, they're AAA ballparks. Traditionally, better for hitting. That just throwing it out there. It's going to be. It's Florida in April. It's better than Fenway in April. Just throwing it out there. But anyway, we definitely need to go through some of these stacks. And I'm looking at the 5-man stack ROI in the Sims Spags. Tampa Bay against Soriano. Actually, the highest 5-man stack ROI that we have. But some guys that aren't that far behind. Cleveland, Colorado. This has got to get adjusted here from what I built out before. So I actually need to probably just build something else out as we go. But I like to always ask this right from the onset to kind of give us a jumping off point, if you will. Single entry today, one stack to rule them all, one stack to find them. Where does Christopher Spags go?
So this is one that I actually did not get enough in the sim. I'm going to rerun my sim in a moment once it's updated for Colorado because I want to make sure I'm getting that as well. I think for me, it would be Toronto against Boston. I like the ownership here overall. Definitely a little bit of ownership to the top 4 in particular with Bichette, Guerrero, Santander, and Jimenez all above 10%. And actually, Springer and Kirk are pretty close as well. But Buehler's just been so bad, and the park factors were still good there, even though the weather is not going to be, park's not going to be as good as Coors or Tampa Bay's park, still going to be one where you are getting a benefit. And Buehler's been awful versus both sides of the plate. Like I mentioned earlier, 221 ISO to righties, 227 ISO to lefties over the last couple years. Home run rate about 5%. Like maybe a mini stack is more likely to hit here given the run total. But I do like 5-mans as well. I think Toronto's a team that I'm curious to get a lot of tonight.
Yeah, today. They're a team that I definitely want to get a lot of. I don't see what exactly Walker Buehler can do going forward to improve. It's kind of a bummer because he was one of the best pitchers in baseball with the Dodgers before injuries took over. Ended up holding him back. They took their dear sweet time at the tail end of last year, and they had just enough juice to get him across the finish line. There were some really brutal starts in the middle of that during the World Series run. He ends up actually he got the save in the game clincher against the Yankees, which is kind of ironic. But I look at everything year over year in Baseball Savant, and I mean, it's not going to go well for him. What can he even do going forward to like get any swing and miss on anything that isn't the sweeper? And the sweeper he throws exclusively to righties. You can't throw it to lefties or it'll just get punched up. So if it's not a sweeper, he has no swing and miss this season. I think he's in a lot of trouble against lefties.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, 8.3% swing strike rate, lowest on the slate, 38% chase rate. Faced about 400 batters, so we're talking about a good enough sample size as well to feel like this is probably who he is now. And even the fly ball rate, like it's still kind of low at 35%, but not as low as it used to get it, where he was just induced ground balls over everything. The one thing that's good for him is that he's not getting barreled or hard hit a crazy amount. 7.5% barreled ball rate is flat average for this slate. 36.7% hard hit rate, actually towards the lower end, compared to some guys. So maybe there's merits to Buehler, but it's not strikeouts. It's not his ability to avoid power. It's not his ability to give up extra base hits. Like he's not good at any of those things at this point. So I think Toronto with a good lineup here, a collective lineup here, 325 on base percentage, 110 WRC plus. I think they could do some damage.
Yeah, they definitely can. I hate that there aren't any lefties that are good in the lineup. Santander is about it. And he's had a brutal start to his tenure here in Toronto. Tenure in Toronto. That's fun.
That's Ron Burgundy-esque.
Yeah. Unique New York for sure. There's definitely an element of it there. But I don't know what I want to do here with Coors now. Just even looking at the Coors lineup here, Quinn Priester sucks. But if they go quickly, they quick hook him, which I think is very, very live. Even just pitches 3-4 innings clean and gets out of there. I hate these batters that are in this lineup so much on the Colorado side that it causes me physical pain. But they're cheap. They're in Coors Field. I was going to play Colorado in single entry. I thought it was just so clear cut. But there is not a damn thing in that lineup that I like. I mean, no Tavar right off the get-go. That is a major problem for me in terms of the outfield. You go from, what looked like a decent spot to Mickey Moniak, Tyler Freeman, Zach Veen. Like, this is just brutality. So maybe Zach Veen does find a little something here, but that is not my favorite two-hole hitter that I've seen in the two-hole all season long. That is for damn sure. Other stacks that we kind of want to be getting to on this slate, Kansas City, there are individual hitters. I mean, you see Bobby Witt, highest owned hitter in my first run of Sims. Now I just ran another thing of him, and well, he's still up there individually at shortstop. I think it has more to do with the position. And well, when you're projected for 10.71, next guy, Bo Bichette, who I think does look good in those Toronto stacks and has been hitting the ball hard, has no homers to show for it. I tried to make that a thing yesterday, but as far as other stacks you want to be getting to most on this slate, Spags, outside of just the aforementioned Toronto Blue Jays, who are they?
I'm still, so I'm rerunning my sim here. I'm going to see how Colorado looks. Also pulled in the projections to try to get a better read on it because, as Eric mentioned, they just update about a minute ago. I mean, Tolia, 8.4 projection, McMahon, 8.3, Veen, a 9 projection, Brendan Doyle, 9.8. I do worry that feels like a lot for Doyle and for Veen up top. Still really good projections, though, for this team at this point. So I will be on Team Colorado, even though I do agree with Eric. The lineup is not as good as it could have been. But I think in particular frankly, you're getting the highest projection for the top two because you're going to get the most at-bats most likely. But I really like the part from Ryan McMahon down the order. I think looks pretty good. Like McMahon, Martini, Tolia, Moniak, add something on top of that. Maybe Doyle from the leadoff spot. I think that looks good. I'm going to play some 5-man Colorado, I think, because if people think it's ugly, if you think it's ugly, if old Chalk Eric Lindquist thinks it's ugly, then nobody's going to play Colorado today.
Eric Chalkquist. Haven't heard that for a while. You know why? Because I throw out the 2%ers on NBA Live before locks like a G, like the G that I am. Maybe G string. I don't know. I'm something.
Hey, there's worse places to be, I guess. Well, depends where you're working as a G string.
Whenever I run the Sims while I'm on this, it like starts chopping me up. So I always feel like doing weird stuff in between because it's like I'm doing the robot, but I'm not doing the robot. Watch it on screen.
I think honestly, it doesn't look choppy to me, but maybe on your side.
Guys, it's an hour show for a 5-game MLB slate.
Sometimes you got to do the robot.
You got to stretch it out. You got to have a little bit of fun with yourself. Also sounded masturbatory, but we have to finish this out talking some stacks that we might not be as interested in. I will say one more stack, though, that I'm interested in that I want to get your thoughts on is the Angels going up against Zach Littell. I mean, we're kind of getting their A lineup yet again, 1 through 9. Nobody getting a day off because 2 days off ago, you got Logan O'Hoppe, who got to have a little rest, got to sit on the sidelines and chill. Definitely want to get to some Angels here, considering the game environment, considering nobody pulling a crazy amount of ownership. I just refreshed the top stacks tool here. Further down the list than I was expecting, but if they're going to have lower lineup share than Cleveland, considering the game environment there, even though it's Jonathan Cannon and a White Sox bullpen, the Rockies lineup, I think we've established, not my favorite thing I've ever seen in my life. I really do like the idea of getting to some Angels on today's slate. Kyron Paris apparently hits a home run every day. That seems like something you want to put into your lineups in the 7 hole. Logan O'Hop might add more hops to it. Want to get definitely some Logan O'Hop in my life and watch Superbad now. But is the Angels stack one that you've got your eye on at all, Spags?
I think I'm close to the field on the Angels. I just reran my sim here, so I'm just kind of getting reacclimated with what I'm getting in here. I got 5% 5-man stacks of the Angels, which is yellow on my sheet, which means it's pretty much flat with the other guys. 3% in 4-man stacks, 2% in 3-man stacks, is a little bit low. I like Littell a little bit more. That said, I'm now a little bit under the field on him, 19%, fields at 22. Previously, in my last run, was up on Littell more. But you have 7 guys that strike at above league average in this Angels lineup, rather. I don't know that Littell's got the stuff to get him out, but I do think that's something that does maybe give me some pause. And Littell himself is not any great shakes, but he's kind of an average pitcher to me. A flat average home run rate, about 3% and change. K rate's 21%, a little bit under average. Angels lineup gets on base well, decent ISO, so I could see where you're coming from here. I'm just not crazy about them based on the longer term sample. Besides, Mike Trout. And it's also sad to see Mike Trout now like striking out so much, like 26% K rate versus righties. Last couple years, the bloom is a little bit off the Mike Trout rose, sadly, as many people out there already know. But it hurts to see it in the numbers.
Yeah, but like he's still hitting the ball hard, and if he can stay healthy for an entire season, I mean, 414 xWOBA, I would take that on my baseball team. I know he's getting paid an arm and a leg to do it, but like I think adjusted to today's market, you'd like to have a 414 xWOBA at that kind of a price tag. So I think we can like talk about the Mike Trout that we used to know. And obviously 26% isn't crazy relative to some of the hitting here now as well, where it's kind of gearing towards loft and, big events rather than just moving the line. And that's where I think Mike Trout is still going to be, one of the more interesting trade commodities. Can we get Mike Trout out of Anaheim? Can we do it? Is he going to say yes to anything this time around?
I mean, does anybody want to pay that price at this point? I think would be the other issue.
Well, you can find ways to offload that.
Sure.
Take a portion of it, but we'll see. We'll see how desperate the Mets are this time in July. God, it's just insane to think like I have that queue that I qualified for. That's the first week of the MLB playoffs. I could die before then, Spags.
I mean, I hope not, but Mike Trout could be a Met, so he could also die before then.
I got to go win 10K in that damn thing. 200 tickets. Got my one locked up. Second day of the season. I'll try not to die, but
it's a long wait. It is a long wait for that.
Yeah. Just like it's been 84 years waiting for the end of it. But anyway, I'm just going through this. I knew this was going to freaking happen. Now you're getting Coors Field, the cheapest hitters. I knew this was going to happen, Spags. I didn't want it to, and it happened anyway. Fuck. Meatloaf.
I mean, really good projections up top for Colorado. Like, I agree they're not the best batters, but clearly, Stokastic data knows when there's good opportunity for them and they're cheap. So, yeah, Colorado, I get why they're coming up more. They should.
Tyler Freeman, my third highest. He can't hit. That's a problem. Like, you want guys who can hit. I'm sure Brendan Doyle and Zach Veen, my two high. Oh, they're my highest owned outfielders. They're my highest owned outfielders now.
Yeah. They're cheap. Really high projections. Like Zach Veen would be your first utility player in a cash game, I think, right now.
Oh, for sure he is. It's horrible to say, but he's definitely the value piece du jour now of the entire day. You put him in the outfield, 3K. Yeah, you're going to get a ton of him. So it is what it is. Again, this is my bias coming in here. I look at Milwaukee now. We're getting under the field to Yelich and Churio. That was not the case for me and Mitchell coming into this show. But the aforementioned Colorado team, I mean, no lefty power. Nolan Jones is now in Cleveland because they just needed to have Tyler Freeman, who can't hit, on their baseball team. So I'm very tilted at the moment. Whatever. Bryce Terang, I need more than 8.67% of him. But where did Kyron Paris go? I have zero Kyron Paris. That's got to change. Everything has changed about this slate with how cheap Colorado bats are. And that's a 5-game slate MLB style for you. That's what it'll do.
Sim thinks you're a donkey. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, Colorado, 15% chance of being a top stack. Ownership share is 13%. So it does make a lot of sense why, if you are running the sim, you're going to get a lot more.
All right, let's talk a little FanDuel for the people. I need to get off this. Let's go to MLB and look at some of these individual hitters, because I think that'll be pretty darn fun. Talk about some of the stacks. But if you're looking at the top stacks tool here today, which again, all of our data readily available for you, and with the all promo, yes, $100 off any all access package to NBA, NHL, MMA, PGA, NASCAR. We got PGA Showdown. These are going to be huge showdown contests for the Masters. We've got NASCAR on the weekend, huge events with tons of money up top for the one-day event type deals for, each week. It's just crazy. I just go in, click the Sims, fire it up in the NASCAR streets, and I'm all set to go. We've got NHL rocking for the playoffs, NBA for the play-in tournament and playoffs. Can't wait to be using all of our data. And well, you can get it right now. All packages, all access package for $100 off using code ALL. So check it out. Awesome. Now we are back. Shoot. God, I was so proud of myself. And now it's back. All right. We've got an interesting spot here with the top stacks tool now, because Ryan Feltner still getting targeted here. Milwaukee backs the top stack in FanDuel as well, as it should be. But we've got lots of ways to get different, I think, on FanDuel, with Toronto, with Cleveland, with Boston, with Kansas City, even against Bailey Ober, because all he does is give up fly ball contact and hard contact at that. I love getting to Kansas City on the FanDuel slate. I also love getting to combinations, not just with Milwaukee, but Cleveland a little bit lower owned. Not even 10% ownership against Jonathan Cannon there. I know who I want to get to. I want to get to Jose Ramirez. I want to get to Kyle Manzardo. I want to get to some power against Jonathan Cannon and Progressive Field, one of the better lefty parks last season. However, when blowing in slightly from right. Who are some of your favorite FanDuel stacks to attack, Spags?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Toronto, we already talked about enough, but same principle there. They are the number 3 highest chance to be a top stack, right behind the Coors game. So I think Toronto stands out there. Still positive leverage as well, 1.5% leverage on them. So yeah, Toronto, same criteria. I'm with you on Cleveland as well. I do think they look better on FanDuel than they do on DraftKings. Cannon is a guy we really didn't talk about much, but he does give up a really big 200 ISO to left-handed hitting. You're getting a lot of lefties in this lineup. Top 5 are all lefties or switch hitters. And then 2 of the bottom half are also lefties. So could be a little bit of a hellscape for Jonathan Cannon today. And frankly, I didn't get a lot of them on my DraftKings sim. Got 5% 5-mans, 3% 4-mans, 5% 3-man. So like basically average for what I'm getting across the slate here. But I think going heavier on them on FanDuel looks pretty good because they just look like a different team.
They look awesome, I think, on FanDuel. And on DK, what's really hard is Kyle Manzardo and Carlos Santana, first base only. So your 3-4 hitters in the lineup are covered up on top of each other. That is a pain in the asshole. So I definitely don't want pain in my asshole.
You want only pleasure there.
I really do. Just a little touching. It's fine. Just say hi. A little how's your father, right? Isn't that the Austin Powers thing?
It's honestly even funnier to have these jokes knowing that it's not even 10 a.m. in your time. So,
not
like
10 a.m.
1 p.m. We get some ribald things out. For 10 a.m. It's like, oh, we're making jokes about pleasure in my asshole.
Not that I need to tell anybody in chat, but I'm a broken person. Like I'm actually a broken person. So here we are. The absolute levels of fuck it today that I have are like revolutionary, actually. Revelatory, that's the word I'm looking for. But definitely FanDuel is one where I want to get to Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, and Manzardo together because I can actually do it over there, Spags. We're on DK. You got to pick one and you can't have the other one. That is stupid. I always hate that. Give me a full utility spot on DK. I've been begging for that forever. They'll never do it. Although it would definitely help in terms of dupes on smaller slates. It would definitely be a lot of fun, but such is life. We're going to continue on our merry way back to the DraftKings slate to finish it out here. Came in late. I'm effed. No, you're not humble because we have 5 minutes left in our show. And if you hit that like button, we would very much appreciate it. But we'll give our home run plays. Then we'll recap everything for you. And then we will get ourselves the heck up out of here. But first, nuke home runs. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to fill a little time to get everything updated. All you do is you click the button, you watch the video. It's like going back to, AP biology when you're watching a movie in class and you're like, thank God I'm not learning anything. But anyway, let's teach some people some things. Chris Spags, who is going yard in your lineups today?
All right, so I've talked enough about Toronto today, but I will try to distill it down to one guy I think stands out. He's been paid an impossible amount of money, all in the signing bonus apparently. 225 mil. But Vlad Guerrero here, righty back, going against Walker Buehler, as we talked about. Buehler bad versus both sides of the plate, and frankly, that made me almost consider Santander a little bit more. But Vlad Guerrero, last couple of years, 13% barreled ball rate, 55% hard hit rate. Launch angle not as dialed in as Santander is, but he's got better power overall. I like Vlad enough here. I would love to take Vlad and Santander. I think one of them hits a home run, but somebody's going to get to Buehler today. So I'll say that.
Logan O. Hop. Look, we're going to see a ton of ownership come in on William Contreras. We're going to see a ton, but 5,200 for William Contreras, you're going to have to make some concessions in that old lineup. But Logan O'Hoppe against Zach Littell. I mean, this guy is off to a raging hot start, not just because he keeps making me money, but a 1.108 OPS, righty power like crazy, finding the barrel, and you get up against some of these non-strikeout arms, these Zach Littell types, and boy, oh boy, do I feel better about Logan O'Hoppe. Let's see in the chat who you guys fire up as Spags and I recap our favorite plays on today's slate for tournaments. At pitcher, who are you going to the most, my guy?
Pitcher is still Gavin Williams for me, even though that's not a brave take. Waka moved up a little bit, but Gavin Williams, the latest semi-round, got him at 65% compared to 50.5. So I am now deep in the Gavin Williams game.
Oh, deep in the Gavin Williams game. I'd say something else, but I think we probably, our innuendo has no limits here on this show. So I will shut my damn pie hole for once. I absolutely love the idea of getting to Ryan Feltner in tournaments. Once again, you go up against, especially on small slates, like this would not be somebody on a 10, 12 game slate I would even entertain for leverage. But on a 5-game slate, if you are going to be fading Milwaukee in one lineup, in 3 lineups, in 20 max, and you're going to have, a couple of just fading Milwaukee, well, the best way that you see yourself succeed on this slate is Ryan Feltner has a good outing. So for me, that's kind of just the leverage you get against the stack. There's lots of ways that he still doesn't end up putting up like the tournament bank, but he is 3% owned in Coors. Rightfully so. Totally get it. But I think in single entry, I think in 20 max, I think in 150 max, Ryan Feltner is somebody to be over the field on or to be utilizing in that lineup if you're not going to play Milwaukee. Also like Chris Bassett, you had brought that up as well. Strikeout opportunities against a Red Sox team that, well, there's still going to be strikeouts, I think, going forward, even though Devers is starting to put bat on ball. And then Gavin Williams, just half of your lineups. That's exactly how I plan to utilize him. The Sims is kind of echoing that for sure. All right. Favorite stacks, 3 stacks to rule them all. Spags, round out our show.
All right, 3 stacks. For me, Toronto going against Buehler again, like the individual players as one-offs, like them as many stacks. But if you can get the 5-man, somehow make it work. I will say Colorado is now a favorite stack of mine. I'm sorry to insult Eric after being hopefully so kind to him early on. And I do think you should hit the like button for Eric one more time for a great showing today. But I will go to Colorado and insult him in that way. And I'll just highlight the FanDuel side. I think that Cleveland FanDuel side of the equation, and frankly, if you get there on DK, maybe it's the price tags are tough, especially for Jose Ramirez in the 2-hole. But that lineup is really locked and loaded to abuse a guy like Cannon, who's got really noteworthy righty-lefty splits. So I will throw Cleveland as my 3rd stack, but especially on FanDuel.
Love that. Apparently, I'm just going to play Coors now. So there you go. Colorado. I just hate it here. Whatever. I bet Milwaukee, so I have money on Milwaukee now, so that's good to know. Got that taken care of on show. So Colorado's going to be, I'm going to put them in the 3-hole. I can't possibly put them number 1 at this point. I love the Angels. The Angels are underrepresented, I think. I'm going to go second with them and Toronto. We're going to have the same one. Walker Buehler, I loved your time. I loved watching you at Dodger Stadium. You're about to get completely shamblized in the AL East. Not the best division to be walking into, but it's always great to walk into a Zoom room or a StreamYard room and hang out with my friend at Chris Spags over on X. Go follow him right now. Go follow Splash Play as well, but tell him where to find you and how to go about that whole process, my friend.
If you want to see content like my NBA streams daily, which we're going on some amount in the playoffs as well, check out at Splash Play Bets. There I'll be doing my NBA daily streams along with soon MLB daily streams as well. So trying to keep up there, and my NFL content at Splash Play Pod. So 2 channels here. If you want to do best ball, at Splash Play Pod. You want to play some DFS with me, at Splash Play Bets. And prop bets, of course, Eric, because we love prop bets have to be weaved into everything. That's just the way we love things right now.
Yeah, I love propositions, and so
that's where you get the pleasure in your asshole from.
I'm Eric Lindquist. Follow me at Eric Lindquist as well. He's Spags. I'm Eric. Let's get ourselves the heck up out of here before I get in trouble. Have a great day, everybody. Best of luck. NBA Live before lock. That'll be Josh and Greg, I believe, today. No. Josh has doggy class. No. We've got Greg and Bellman. That's who it'll be. Can't wait for that one. NBA is the Wild West, but profitable. Greg going for 3 days in a row, winning the $4. Can he do it? We'll find out. What a jerk. Let's get out of here.